10-2. Since then, he's turned it around, and he's been playing like he belongs in this league.
Well, he definitely is playing like he belongs. We saw the goals against average up there just a moment ago, 3.02, and that's darn good in anybody's league. And of course, we all know what a pit Mariucci Arena can be to play in, especially when you're the visiting hockey club.
Oh yeah, definitely. You know, me and Billy play on the same junior team, and it's incredible the strides I've seen him take between now and before. He's just matured so much, and he's turned into one heck of a goalie.
Dave, very briefly going into the hockey game tonight, of course, something fans pay attention to is the NCAA hockey polls. Northern Michigan rated 5th this week in the hockey poll. What type of effect does that have on the players as we're looking at the league standings?
Well, you know, it makes the players, you know, work a little harder to see that we're in 4th. And, you know, of course, we're all excited, but we can't let that go to our heads. We have to stick to our game plan and take things from there.
As we said, coming on tonight, Northern Michigan currently 2nd overall in the WCHA standings. Denver right behind, breathing down the Cats' necks in 3rd. And if Northern Michigan wins tonight, they will be in sole possession of 1st place in the WCHA. We're all set to go. Dallas Drake, Ed Ward, and Jeff Galicki for Northern Michigan, the Wildcats' hottest line so far this season. And the Wildcats control the face-off. This is Pete Podrasky in his own zone. His pass knocked down and hit with a high stick, and the face-off will come back out into center ice.
You know, Tom, I think we're going to probably see the same type of play that we played in Denver, you know, tight checking and see if we can win in the 3rd period. I think we're going to see a little bit more hitting from us because this is our own rink and we hit really well in this rink. So look for a pretty contact game tonight.
Was the series in Denver physical?
Yeah, it was. You know, we try to hit them as much as we could because they're a quick team. We got to slow them down. But, yeah, it was really physical.
Podrasky with a shot from the faceoff. That gets deflected out front of the goal. Olsen from the blue line throws one in, and Gilly sticks that into the corner. Play deep in the Pioneer zone, in behind the Pioneer goal. This is Ed Ward battling for it there. Ward on the backhand. Galicki comes into it, but coming away with the puck for Denver is Rod Summers, and he clears it back out into center ice. First person back for Northern Michigan is Pete Podrasky, the junior from Canton, Michigan, off to Ed Ward. Ward dumps up to the line, held in though by Russo, who pinches down and throws it into the near side corner. Podrasky clears around the far side. First person there will be the Pioneers. Centering pass right out front of the goal, and Bill Pye had to be alert on that one. Play back out over the blue line, brought back in offside by Russo. Face-off will stay in the neutral zone in center ice.
You know, that's what Billy needed right off the bat there to make a really big save to get him into the game. And I think we should take steps from there. That was a very good scoring opportunity they just had there, and that shouldn't happen this early in the game.
Antos, Lamarck, and Daryl Flandowski for Northern Michigan. On the face-off is Jim Howe for the Denver Pioneers. H-A-U, the spelling of that last name. Northern Michigan clearing down into the Denver zone. In behind the goal, Gillies clears it along the near side boards. Pioneers will bring it out into center ice. On the move is Christoffoli in over the line. Christoffoli stood up along the far side by Phil Sukharov, and Sukharov takes the puck away. Sukharov again clears it back in behind his own goal for senior defenseman John Good. Good clears it back around for Flandowski, held at the blue line. Being hooked to the ice, is Sukharov coming from the side. Denver around in behind the goal. Back on the blue line, this is Russo faking a shot, clearing right on goal. Pye with the save and the rebound. Another save by Bill Pye, and Antos comes back for Northern Michigan. Pass broken up in the center ice zone. Turning back is Howell for Denver. In over the line. Drop pass there for McBride. A little bit behind McBride. Wildcats bring it back up through center ice. This is Brad Warenka in the neutral zone. Has it knocked back into the Wildcat zone by the Pioneers. Takes a hit in the far side corner. Troy Jacobson steps in, and Jacobson's on the move. Jacobson back through center ice to Phil Berger. Berger in over the line. Into the corner. Centering attempt out front is knocked down and taken away. And the Pioneers will bring it back out into center ice. Brad Warenka clears it right back in behind his own goal. This is Ken MacArthur. Pinching down is Phil Berger trying to pick up that loose puck in behind the goal. And Phil Brown and a couple of Pioneers are holding the puck there. The face-off will be off to Gillies, left side.
You know, the Pioneers are a really young team. They only have 2 senior forwards. And I think next year, and next 2 years actually, they're going to be a very, very tough team.
And what was it 2 years ago, Dave, that the Pioneers were up at the top of the WCHA. They led the league most of the way.
Oh yeah, that's true. You know, throughout their history, that's what their style of play has been, was offense.
Lance Momotani in to take the face-off for Denver. Puck into the corner from the draw. Wildcats battling control in behind. A centering attempt out front. That's knocked away. The Pioneers cleared back out into center ice. Penalty coming up behind the play, and it'll be against Northern Michigan. Checking from behind will be the call. And the time of the penalty will be 2:37 here in the opening period. Power play for Denver will be their first of the hockey game, and the Pioneers so far in WCHA play are 26.5%. Overall, they are 27.5%, and that is a very good power play percentage. Doug Garrow in the penalty box for Northern Michigan. Shields along with wingers McBride and Christophily up front, a drive from the blue line, and Pye is sharp on that and kicks it away. Wildcats clear back down the ice. Brown, Lamarck, Podrasky, and number 66, Darrell Olson for Northern Michigan to try and kill off the penalty. Wildcats just a hair's breadth under 80% efficiency killing penalties so far this season. And if you listen to the pregame, that's a statistic that Rick Comley still isn't pleased with. He thinks that to be successful, a team has to be over 80%, Dave Porter, as icing is the call on Denver.
Well, yeah, you know, last year we led the league in penalty killing. We had the best. We just said we had the best penalty killing, and you know, we've scored a lot more shorthanded goals this year than we have last year, but we've also given up a few more power play goals.
WCHA scoring leaders on your screen, and Sean Harrison of Michigan Tech still on the top with 29 points. We look down and see Phil Berger still in third with 25 points. Face-off off to the right side of Gillies, and the face-off is controlled by Shields. Denver will set up the power play in behind their own goal. 1:20 left in Garrow's checking from behind penalty. Carrying back in over the Northern Michigan line is McBride, dumps it back towards the blue line. Phil Brown, the first person there. That puck up into the rafters, Dave, and the face-off will stay in the Northern Michigan zone.
You know, one way is a good way to defend against Denver's power play is to force them early in their zone. If you can get on the defenseman before they have time to set up, they'll a lot of times cough it up and get good shorthanded scoring opportunities.
You know, Dave, I'm sure you saw the series last weekend, and one of the things against Minnesota Duluth I thought the Wildcats did better was pinch their wingers further up towards the top and up higher in the box.
Yeah, that's what we did, because Duluth, their power play is based upon moving on the outside. So what we did is we just moved the wingers out a little bit more so they couldn't get the puck passed out to the point.
And of course, Northern Michigan very effective last week against Minnesota Duluth in the penalty killing situations. Puck cleared back to the blue line, held by the Pioneers. Across ice, this is Summers. Summers takes the return pass at the blue line. Still 55 seconds left in Garrow's penalty. Centering pass across the crease, deflected into the corner by Dean Antos. Phil Pye out of the goal to clear right on the stick of a Pioneer. Plandowski buries his man in the corner, saved by Pye. Rebound right out front of the goal. Plandowski still battles for it, and he'll blast it down the ice right on goal. And we're down to 35 seconds left in Garrow's penalty. In behind his own goal, this is Rod Summers, a big defenseman, 6'4", 215, clearing back up through center ice. And over the line is Behrens. Behrens fans on the pass, back to the blue line. This is Summers, a shot, and Pye with the skate save there. Moore in the near side corner for the Denver Pioneers. Down under 15 seconds left in the power play. A drive from the blue line. That gets deflected off a Denver player. Behrens turns in the far side circle. Behrens takes a look back on the blue line. Summers a drive right on it. That's deflected away by Sukharov, and I believe Pye also got a stick on that one. Doug Garrow back on the ice. Northern Michigan back at full strength. A centering attempt. That goes off the skate of Phil Sukharov. And now the lead pass goes for Garrow. Too far, though, and it'll be an icing call against the Wildcats. 15-16 left in the opening period. No score in the hockey game. Good effort that time, Dave, by the Wildcat penalty killers, as now we're taking a look at the leading goaltenders. And, of course, Bill Pye, who we talked about coming in. Number 3, Rob Stauber, who the Wildcats played against earlier. Number 1. Do you have any thoughts on Stauber?
Well, you know, winning the Hobie Baker last year, I'm sure, was a big thrill for him, but This year he hasn't really been up to potential as he was last year, and if I'm not mistaken, they dropped 2 to RPI last weekend. 1, they dropped 1, okay.
And right now, I believe Stauber is still out of the lineup with a twisted knee that he suffered trying to stop a penalty shot against Minnesota Duluth a couple of weeks back. And we'll talk about where Minnesota is this weekend, but they are playing non-conference. From the face-off, loose puck right out front of the goal, a backhand shot. That gets deflected off the skates of Pete Podrasky, tipped away by Daryl Olson. Play held at the blue line, though, by Denver. A shot that Pye gloves off and throws down to the side. Daryl Olson picks it up in his own zone. Up the boards for Garrow, held in. Still held in by the Denver Pioneers at the blue line, and finally Garrow comes away in Northern Michigan on the break, 2-on-1. Garrow and Podrasky across ice. Oh, and just a little too far for Doug Garrow as they had Gillies going the other way. Garrow knocks it along the far side boards, bumps his man along that far side. Play, though, comes back out in the center ice. Wildcats clear it right back in. And Denver will try it once again. We've played just about 6 minutes of the opening period. No score, Denver and Northern Michigan. Morano picks it up in the center ice zone, clears back to his own blue line. Pioneers down into the Northern Michigan zone. Dallas Drake had a hit on his man in the center ice area. Off to Russo, his shot. It's his own teammate out front of the Wildcat goal. In behind the goal is Momotani. Centering pass off to the side. That goes off the skate of the Denver player in behind the Northern Michigan goal. Daryl Olson will just throw it the length of the ice, and that goes far enough, or make that it's waved off. It should have been an icing call, Dave.
No, I think it went through the crease there, Tom.
And the play is down loose, right off to the side, and a shot by Ward is stopped by Gillies. Rebound and score, Galicki! What a season for Jeff Galicki so far, Dave. His 12th goal of the year.
Yeah, you know, last year Jeff was struggling, and he worked hard this summer, and he turned it around. He's just having an unbelievable season.
5:31, the time of the Wildcat goal. Or make that 6:31, the time of the Wildcat goal. Galicki, his 11th of the season. Northern Michigan on the board first at 1-0. From the face-off, play cleared back into the Northern Michigan zone. Off to the side of Bill Pye, and he just bends over and grabs the puck. Face-off will stay off to his left side. 13-19 left in the first period. 1-0 Northern Michigan.
That was a good play by Dallas Drake from behind the net to give it out to Ed Ward in front, who was jabbing at it, and the rebound came right to Jeff Galicki, and he buried it.
Well, Jeff has made himself more or less of a fixture out in front of that opposition goal from about 5 to 6 feet, and he's really developed into a deadly goal scorer from there.
He's a real sniper this year.
From the face-off, play back in behind the Northern Michigan goal. This is Barron's bumped off the puck. A quick shot coming from the slot area. Pye's down on top. Puck still loose. And diving across with Malone. A blast, and Pye got a glove on that. Denver very dangerous. Brooks clears it across. This is Summers at the right point. Sends it down towards the goal. Pye catches that on the blocker. Another centering attempt, Barron's, and Malone goes down to take that away. Dallas Drake falls, and Jeff Galicki gets it back out in the center ice. This Denver hockey team is strong offensively, and we've got another penalty coming up. It'll be a slashing call, and it will go against number 7, Rick Barron's of Denver. Penalty time comes at 7:13 here in the opening period. Wildcats with their first power play attempt, and sooner or later, Dave, something's got to happen.
Yeah, you know, we've been working at it real hard this week, and I think tonight you're going to see a little different power play.
I thought with the way Rick said his practice schedule was this week that he might have had a chance to experiment with 5 different players and surprise everybody.
Yeah, it was a rough week of practice this week. You know, guys having finals and whatnot and different practice times, but we all worked really hard this week.
From the face-off, play into the Denver zone. And the Pioneers will bring it back out in the center ice. On the move coming in over the line is Christopoli. Christopoli trying to go around the outside of Daryl Olson. Has no success there, and Dallas Drake drops the back pass to Olson, cross to Pete Podrasky. Podrasky and Olson on the blue line for the Wildcats. Play offside as Berger brought the puck in behind him at the Denver line. Face-off will come back out in the center ice.
The next road game for the Wildcats will be next weekend against Minnesota Duluth on the 22nd and 23rd December. You can hear all the action on Q107.
A minute 37 left in the Wildcat power play advantage. We'll set that front line. Daryl Plandowski will be in to take the faceoff. Galicki on his right, Eric Lamarck on his left. And Jim Howe is in to face Plandowski on the faceoff. If you're just joining us late this evening, Jeff Galicki got the game-opening goal, his 12th of the season. John Good picks up the puck, clears it back into the Denver zone. Gillies out of his goal, clears it around the far side boards, takes a strange bounce off the glass and comes back to center ice. A long shot by Christoffoli is kicked away by Bill Pye. Jeff Galicki puts it in behind his own goal. Sukharov and I believe John Good, the Wildcat defensive combination right now, are back on the blue lines for the power play. Good backhands it into the zone, but Denver fires it right back down the ice. A minute left in the Barons slashing penalty. Northern Michigan 0 for December on the power play, trying to change that right now. Pass up into center ice for Antos. Antos back to the Denver line, dropped off to Lamarck. Lamarck takes a look, drops it back on the point to Sukharov. Down in behind the goal. This is Antos. Antos tries a wraparound, goes back in behind the goal. Lamarck off to the side of the net for Antos, gets knocked down for his efforts, and the Pioneers clear it back down the ice. Half a minute to go in the Northern Michigan power play. Sukharov takes a look, starts off the freshman Dallas Drake. Drake backing over the Denver line, pulls up along the near side boards. Back on the blue line, Pedrasky back to Dallas Drake. Drake to Pedrasky again, cross ice for Olson. Olson fires a weak wrist shot that rolled off the end of his stick, and the Pioneers come back, charging in over the line. Quick shot by Morano, and that's right on, and Bill Pye has that locked in the pads, and the faceoff will be off to his left. 4 seconds left in the Denver penalty.
Well, what we tried, I guess, on the power play there was to move it around the outside there and try to set up a shot for Daryl Olson. He had the shot, just unlucky that he fanned on it there.
Did Denver's penalty killing troops try the same type of penalty killing against you out in Denver that they just tried right now?
Yeah, they did. They tried to come at us, with full force and go for the shorthanded goal there. What they did is they tried to force 2 men deep in our zone and see if we could cough the puck up.
Kevin Scott on the ice for the first time tonight for Northern Michigan, playing with a playing cast as the Pioneers are now back at full strength. Of course, he had the ligament problem with his thumb that was operated on recently. First action back, he missed last weekend's series against Minnesota Duluth. Garrow on the move for Northern Michigan, in over the Denver line along the near side boards, being bumped into the corner down there by Ken MacArthur, tied up along with Behrens and MacArthur, and the face-off will be off to Gillies' left side. 10:26 left, opening period. Northern Michigan by a goal. It's 1-0, and we've got another penalty coming up. And this fellow that we're looking at right here is our mystery Wildcat for this evening. And the first clue of the night, he's from Alberta, a native of Alberta, and he's a junior this year. And I'm sure you've seen that guy around the locker room, maybe at an advanced age, though, Dave.
Yeah, I've seen him a few times there. He's kind of a character in the locker room, kind of a big guy, so maybe that's a little hint there.
Kevin Scott with the tripping penalty at 9:34. And for the Pioneers, this will be their second power play attempt of the evening. Pioneers, as is Northern Michigan, both 0 for 1 so far on the power play. Olson and Pedrasky, the defensive pairing out, along with Eric Lamarck and Phil Brown for Northern Michigan, as Brown has the big hit in behind the Denver goal. Pioneers back through center ice, in over the Northern Michigan line. Christoffoli clears it around in behind the Wildcat goal. Pinching up at the blue line is MacArthur. MacArthur's centering pass off of the side of the Wildcat net out front, turning with the shot but having it deflected away, and the puck cleared back out into center ice was Jay Moore. Pioneers back inside their own zone, and behind their own goal is Russo. 1:20 left in the Scott penalty for Northern Michigan. Pioneers bring it back to center ice. Christoffoli met by Daryl Olson just inside the Wildcat blue line. Garrow picks it up, rifles it around the boards, and that goes all the way back down into the Denver end. Back in to pick it up is Russo. Over skated back there. MacArthur has it. Cross ice pass. This will be coming up through the center ice zone. Darren McBride. McBride with the speed in around the outside. Pulls up, centering pass across the crease. Stoffoli just a little bit too far away, and Garrow clears back down the ice for Northern Michigan. 45 seconds left in the Scott tripping penalty. 9 minutes left in the opening period. Back into the Northern Michigan zone comes Markovic. Down into the near side corner, Shields there. Plandowski joins the pile. Christofoli clears back to the blue line. McBride at the left point. Back across, down low. The feed from Summers a little bit too far. Sukarov there first. Galicki clears it back out over Summers' stick into center ice. Down under 10 seconds remaining in the Wildcat penalty. Christofoli for Denver clears back into the Northern Michigan zone. Sukarov tries to poke it away. Galicki gets a stick on it. Plandowski does too. Puck up the dasher board back into center ice. Scott back out of the penalty box. Wildcats at full strength. And Galicki and Summers have it tied up. The faceoff will stay in the center ice zone.
Elsewhere in the WCHA tonight, Colorado College is at North Dakota. Alaska Fairbanks is at Minnesota Duluth, and Minnesota and Michigan Tech are both at the Jeep Nissan Classic in Anchorage, Alaska.
Of course, they're playing back-to-back non-conference games out there. And as we made mention of coming in tonight and talked with Rick Comley about, the Wildcats with the victory would move into sole possession of first place, although they would have played, I believe, 3 or 4 more games than the Minnesota Gophers in WCHA play. Puck right out front of the goal, bouncing puck, sailing wide of the Denver cage. Northern Michigan back out with Berger. Olsen clears it back into the zone. Berger, Jacobson, and Phil Brown. This is Phil Brown winding up for a shot. They score! Phil Brown with his 3rd goal of the year, and here it is on the replay, Dave. Backing over the line, and Brown with the slap shot beats Gillies on the long side.
Yeah, you know, Phil Berger gave the puck there at the blue line, and Phil Brown just took it wide and let her rip.
12:04, the time of the second Wildcat goal. Northern Michigan now up by a deuce over the Denver Pioneers at 2-0. From the faceoff, Pioneers back in their own zone. Up through center ice comes Markovic. Markovic just clears it down into the Northern Michigan zone. Podaski and Jacobson tied up in the corner along with the Denver player Robinson. Faceoff will be off to Bill Pye's right side.
I noticed out there Dave Shields is limping around a bit. Looked like somebody hit him in the knee or in the shin somewhere as he's down there limping.
Of course, I guess we should mention, Dave, that if any of the Denver players look a little bit different than some of the other ones on the screen, one of the airlines that the Pioneers flew on coming to Marquette lost some of their baggage, and they had to borrow some red and white socks from Marquette High School for some of their players.
Yeah, I don't think they were too happy about that. They also lost some of their clothing luggage also.
Berger back in over the Denver line, has it poked off his stick. Back through center ice comes Momatani for Denver. Momatani on the backhand, and that sailed just wide of the Wildcat goal. In behind the goal, this is Shields being bumped there by Warenka. A centering attempt made by Momatani. Momatani intercepts just inside the Wildcat blue line. Down here in the corner for Shields. Back on the blue line. Long shot from there, and Bill Pye gets the stick on that, kicks it away, and Troy Jacobson comes away. Long pass cross ice to the goal scorer of a moment ago, Phil Brown. He just clears it down into the Pioneer zone. 6:45 left opening period, 2-0 Northern Michigan. Tom McCord along with Dave Porter at Lakeview Arena here in Marquette. Wildcats clear the zone back out into center ice. Rick Barron's back on the move for Denver and over the line, has it knocked away nicely by Warenka. Galicki clears back to the Denver blue line. Turning with it there is Ken MacArthur. Long pass up ice. Bill Pye will intercept that and clear it back up the boards. Doesn't get it away from Barron's though. John Good steps into Barron's a little bit to intercept the puck. Centering pass comes out front. Barron's back toward the blue line. This is MacArthur a shot, and Pye gets a glove on that, dives across and grabs it. Face-off will stay in the Northern Michigan zone.
You know, Tom, our defensive squad, they've been doing really well letting Billy see the puck coming from the defenseman shooting from the blue line. I think that really helps whenever the goalie can see the puck coming. You know, he's not screened and he knows where to deflect the puck or whether to hold it. There's oncoming forward. So I think our defense has been doing really well in that area.
Do you think maybe that's why Bill Pye hasn't been coming out as far this season as he was last season?
I'm sure that probably has something to do with it, yeah.
That and maybe a little experience to boot, as he's getting plenty of it this year and comes into the game with the fine goals against average. From the faceoff, the shot goes on. Pye steers it away. Now Pye out of the goal. Around on the near side boards for Eric Lamarck. Lamarck takes the hit there. Tied up along with two Denver Pioneers, including Christofoli, and the faceoff will remain in the Northern Michigan zone as we look at Eric Lamarck.
Eric's having a really fine season this year. He's got 9 goals and 8 assists with 17 points, and he's just been really, really good this year.
Howe and Antos on the faceoff. Puck loose in the circle. Bill Pye dives out as it comes toward the crease area. Snares it off again. Faceoff will be back in the same circle. 5:48 to go, opening period. Goals by Galicki and Brown, giving Northern Michigan that 2-0 lead. Howe and Antos meet on the faceoff again. And Dean Antos, Dave, being asked to leave, and that's been a little bit of a problem this year.
Yeah, that has been. The linesmen have been cracking down a little bit more on sticking our sticks into the circle before he drops it. What they want us to do is get both sticks down. There's like a little white area down there. They want both sticks in that area before they're able to drop it.
Is that a big change as far as the players are concerned? Is that tough of an adjustment?
Well, it is, because what a face-off is, you're trying to get the jump on the other player, and if you go early before he drops it and you touch their stick, then they kick you out.
John Gooden behind his own goal, clears for the freshman Lou Malone. Malone up the center ice for Plandowski. That's intercepted and cleared back in with two Pioneers offside. Face-off will stay in neutral center ice. 5:37 left opening period. Northern Michigan with that 2-goal lead. Howe and Antos once again on the face-off. Just outside the Northern Michigan blue line. From the face-off, this is MacArthur at his own blue line. Throws it across. That's intercepted by Antos, who clears it back down in behind Gillies in the Denver goal. Gillies leaves it there for number 20, MacArthur, as we look at the shot from behind the Denver goal. Right side pass coming out. Intercepted in the center ice zone by Sukharov. He takes a look and just backhands it back down into the Denver zone. MacArthur once again for the Pioneers throws a pass up the middle. Stepped in, intercepted by Shayak. A blast right on. Rebound, and Gillies makes the save. And Dave, that's a cardinal no-no from a coaching standpoint. You always want to try and use those boards.
Yeah, you know, Dave Shayak let a nice shot go there. Eric Lamarck was off the side of the net there waiting for the rebound, but Gillies covered up there. And that was a very bad giveaway by Denver defense.
I suppose, of course, when you go back to the bench, you hear about it from the coaching staff.
Yeah, you do more than hear about it, all right. He gets right down into your mug.
Kevin Scott will be taking the face-off for Northern Michigan, faced there by Dave Shields. From the face-off, puck gets past the left point, back into the Wildcat zone. This is Pete Podrasky. Podrasky just flips it back towards the center ice zone. Dan Brooks, a junior from St. Paul, Minnesota, had it momentarily, but now Pete Podrasky brings it back in. Podrasky with a burst of speed around the outside, and Gillies has to make the pad save there. Shayak steps into his man behind the goal. This is Kevin Scott. Scott having a little trouble controlling that puck, possibly with the hand cast that he's playing with. And Podrasky just clears it back into center ice. Rod Summers up the center. Darrell Olson steps into his man. Here's the break for Northern Michigan. Scott in over the line looking for Shayak. Across it. Oh, hit the post. Shayak hit the goal post. He had Gillies beat. And Shayak just missed, making it 3-0. Olson a long shot from center ice. And Gillies was a little bit non-committal on that one. It just missed the goal. Another shot, and that sails over the top of Gillies' glove. Northern Michigan all over the Pioneers right now. Malone holds at the blue line, clearing it down back in behind the goal. Cleared around the near side boards by Dan Brooks, and that'll go the length of the ice. And we'll have an icing call as the crowd comes to its feet.
You know, as I said earlier, Tom, this Denver defense, they're big and they're not that mobile. I think what just happened on that last shift is that we forechecked and we hit them and we forced them to turn it over, and that's why we've had such good success this last shift.
And of course, for people who remember the Wildcats of years ago, some of the biggest defense that used to come in here was on the Ferris State blue line. And I'll tell you, they used to run people in there 6'3", 6'4", and when you get them on skates, they're about 6'7".
Yeah, they get pretty big.
Pioneers back through center ice. clearing it down into the zone as Mike Markovich takes a hit across the way from Big Brad Warenka. Play loose in the corner. Troy Jacobson makes a nice move to come away with it to Phil Brown in center ice. Brown tries to return to Jacobson, won't go there. Pioneers bring it back this way with Russo. Russo hauled down by Lou Malone at the blue line. Brad Warenka steps in behind the goal, up to Phil Brown along the boards. Center ice to Jacobson. Down to 3 minutes left in the period. Cross ice, Berger in over the line. Puck backhanded away. Phil Brown will pick it up along the far side boards. Near side corner for Troy Jacobson. In behind the goal, and almost a Berger out to the side. Berger being held in behind the goal. Crowd reacting to that. Puck cleared back towards the blue line, and Denver will bring it out there. Up through center ice comes Momatani. Momatani has his pass intercepted at the Northern Michigan line. Back at his own blue line, this is Greg Moore into center ice. Taken away by Berger. Berger back in over the line. And a quick shot there taken by the winger on that side, Galicki. Shot right on again, tipped by Galicki, and the save made by Gillies. Galicki in behind the goal. This is Ward. Battling for it there. Galicki taking some good shots from behind there. Play held at the blue line by Warenka falling down. And the Pioneers will come away with it. This is Bruce Robinson back through center ice. Drop pass, quick shot, and Pie got a skate on that. All the way back to Ward at the blue line. He just clears rink wide, a little too far for Warenka. Play loose at center ice, cleared back in. John Good has it with 1:50 to play in the opening period. Pioneers will bring it right back in. This is Christoffoli, a quick shot, and Pie got the blocker in front of that one. And Dallas Drake turns up the far side boards, off the Ward. Ward down and over the Denver line, trying to go around the outside, and he has to get up a quick pad there. Those Gillies with the blocker to stop Ed Ward. Ward knocked down in behind the goal. Centering pass across from Dallas, or make that from Daryl Plandowski. Pioneers finally clear the zone down into the Northern Michigan end. Dallas Drake back through center ice. In over the Denver line. Plandowski snaps off a shot, and Gillies has to be alert there, scoops it up at the side of the goal, and the face-off will stay in the Denver end as we look at Gillies along with Plandowski.
Gillies is really being tested early here. We've been getting a lot of good opportunities on him, and you know, we scored 2 already. He's been put to the test so far. He had to make a few big saves in the last 2 or 3 minutes here.
Face-off will be off to Gillies' right side with 1:08 to play, opening period. Wildcats have a 2-goal lead on goals by Jeff Galicki and Phil Brown. And Dave, it's the kind of start you like to have on your home ice.
Yeah, it is. You know, score 2 quick goals, and then, you know, you can either build on that or play defensively. And you know, I think we're going to see a few more goals before this night's over, though.
Sticks come up along the far side between Daryl Plandowski and Darren McBride. Antos along with Howe on the face-off. And this time Howe is the party asked to leave. Antos remains. Quick shot from the face-off. Puck cleared back out into center ice with under 1 minute to go. Backing over the line for Behrens, and Olsen comes back to make the nice defensive play, diving to the ice to tip it away. Eric Lamarck back to center ice for Northern Michigan. Pulls up in over the line, drop pass there. Stepping in to pick up that loose puck, though, is Dan Brooks. Brooks finally muscles it back into center ice, and Darrell Olsen will turn and fire it right back into the Denver zone. Long pass up into the center ice area, tipped across the way. Backing over the line is Darren McBride. His pass intercepted by Kevin Scott. Under half a minute to play in the period. Wildcats up 2-0. Kevin Scott battles right in front of the Denver bench. Gets run into the boards for his efforts. Crowd hollering on that one as he was grabbed from behind. A long shot in, goes right on Bill Pye, and Pye covers up.
I think the crowd was yelling about a little high stick over there in front of the Denver bench on Kevin Scott, and the ref was standing right there and he didn't even call anything.
We look at Bill Pye. He's our first period feature this week on Bresnan's Channel 8. Coming up about 15, make that about 44 seconds from now. 14 left in the period. We'll pause 30 for a commercial, and we'll have a feature on Bill Pye between periods 1 and 2.
I was just talking to Bill's dad, and he's really excited about the way his son Bill Pye has been playing this season.
Well, you would have to be. You know, we mentioned coming on with the shutout that Pye had earlier this year, his first. It was also the first for the hockey Wildcats since 1983-84 against Lake Superior State, and that's when Jeff Poschel was between the pipes for Northern Michigan.
That's also the first shutout that Denver has had in, I think, since 1983 when they lost to Wisconsin 8-0.
That is impressive. 2 seconds left in the opening period, and there goes the first period buzzer. We played 20 minutes at Marquette's Lakeview Arena. The Wildcats have a 2-0 lead, and we'll be featuring Wildcat goalie Bill Pye. That's coming up next, right after this on Channel 8.
Thank you for calling Togo's.
Yes, Togo's. I would like a large number 16 delivered to 1900 Bluff Street.
Okay, we'll have that to you right away. There you go, Dave. 1900 Bluff Street.
Okay.
It's a bird. It's a plane. It's a sub.
Dine in, take out, or call for quick delivery at Togo's, home of the original sub sandwich.
My first time in goal was came 4 games in the second season. I was only 6 years old, and everyone on the team took turns playing net. Well, it was my chance, and I got a shutout my first game. I did really good, so I played again, and I got another shutout, and I don't know, from that day on, I just was a goalie. And the next year I was recruited by a midget travel team in Redford Township, and I played goal again, and that's where I got looked at by an open team the following year called the Michigan Blades, and you know, it was a good experience because I had a lot of fun and I met a lot of new people, and just as a kid to be on the best team in Detroit just helped me as a goaltender. My Pee Wee minor year, there was a new team called CompuWare, and that was like the big organization in Detroit. Just, you know, it's a computer software, and that was the team of Detroit. I mean, they were the richest, and I played for that team for 3 years. So that Bantam Major year, I played for Rocco Bulldogs. We didn't do very well, but I did get a lot of shots, which helped me make the Midget Major CompuWare team, which was, the team was composed of 16-year-olds, and I was only 15, and that's where I played with Eric Lamarck and Pete Podrasky, guys on this team. But the highlight of my career came when I played for Team USA in Lake Placid on the 16 and 17-year-old team. We got to play teams from all over the world, including Czechoslovakia and West Germany. That year I was playing for Team USA. I was also playing juniors for the St. Clair Shores Falcons. I was only 16 years old, and that was a big step for me because everyone else on the team was 18 and 19. So I think that was a big influence on my career. I also had a goalie coach named Quint Rhea who helped me out and who still helps me out today. During my 2 years with the Falcons, I also played in the Chowder Cup, which is a summer tournament in Detroit, and we go to Boston and play teams out in Boston and Chicago area. Also during the spring, I was selected for the 86 and 87 Junior Olympic teams. The 86 team, we went to the final game and ended up losing to Minnesota in the final game. And then our coach that year was Walt Kyle, who was our assistant coach here at Northern. This experience alone helped me get selected for the U.S. Junior Select team, the 17-year-old team. And I think this was the experience I needed to be scouted and offered a scholarship here at Northern. When I got to Northern my freshman year, it was a big adjustment for me. You know, I thought I'd come in and play 15 or 20 games, you know. I did play 10, but it was because Mike got hurt. But it was a big adjustment for me. You know, I'd come in and, you know, shots were just, you know, they were just hitting off posts, and, you know, I got frustrated a lot, but I just kept working and working. And it improved my skills tremendously, you know. You know, playing in the games, I guess, helped, but I think practice itself improved me a lot. in practice, I like to concentrate on my angles and just doing the right things. You know, you can pick up bad habits in practice by being lazy and not concentrating. So I like to concentrate, and you know I'm not going to stop every shot, and I just go out there and try to be confident and just do the right things out there. One of the main things I worked on this summer was working on my shot, and I think that's really helped me. You know, I do make a few dumb mistakes out there, but you know I think it helps the team wise when I can play the puck. It's like a third defenseman out there. I was chosen by my fellow teammates my freshman year as the most improved player of the team. I think I was chosen for that award because of my work ethic. I like to stay out after practice, take a few more shots, and I think the guys kind of gave me that honor for my work ethic. And there's always time for improvement, and that's the nature of goaltending. There's always time for improvement.
got a dream. It comes from the heart of the heartland. I can make my dream, cause I take my dream right from the heart of the heartland. Right from the heart of the heartland. I'm gonna reach for the best, got it all here in my hand. Wherever I go, gonna let them know I come right from the heart of the heartland.
In the heartland, people know what it means to reach for a dream. That's where Old Style is brewed. Brewed with a dream. Not to be the biggest beer in America, just the best.
I got a dream, I got a dream. It comes from the heart of the heartland. Right from the heart of the heartland.
Reach for the best. Old Style beer.
Sweaters, sweaters, sweaters at Getz's in Marquette. Sweaters for him in wool, wool blends, washable acrylics, and cotton, in V-necks, crew necks, shawl collars, and cardigans. And Getz's has a big selection in big and tall sizes. See the great selection of women's sweaters. Getz's has this year's bright fashion colors, shaker knits, and this year's longer look. And a sweater from Getz's makes a great gift. Getz's, a downtown tradition, 218 South Front Street, Marquette.
Welcome back to Marquette's Lakeview Arena, the hockey Wildcats. You see Coach Rick Comley coming back to the ice for second period hockey action. Northern Michigan with a 2-0 lead over the Denver Pioneers, and Dave, a good first period for Northern Michigan.
Yeah, it was, Kyle. I'm sure Coach is pleased with that coming out of that period 2-0. I think what he probably said was probably just pick the hitting up a little bit more and probably play a little bit stronger defensively, but everything else has been going really well.
As we see on the screen, Jeff Galicki got Northern Michigan on the scoreboard at the 6:31 mark, and assists going to Ward and Drake. And like he's gotten on so many of his goals this year, Galicki camped right out front of the Denver goal.
Yeah, this has been our best line by far this year. There's Eddie right there taking a shot, and Jeff comes from behind the net for the rebound and just tucks it home.
Turning around, that's a tough shot to make, and that made it 1-0. And then at the 12:18 mark, junior Phil Brown notched his third goal of the season, coming off a pass over the blue line from Phil Berger. Let's take a look at that one. Good pass by Berger coming in.
Yeah, it was. Phil had the puck right to the blue line. He passed it to the left side where Phil Brown was going down the left side there, and Phil just gets it here, and he fires it. And I'm not sure if it went between the legs or beat him on the out. Looks like he beat him on the left side there.
Shots on goal in the first period. Northern Michigan with 11. And surprisingly enough, the Denver Pioneers with 19. Dave, both of us thought that might have been a little exaggerated up here in the broadcast location.
Yeah, it didn't look like they had that many shots, but I think where they got all their shots was the initial shot, followed by maybe 2 or 3 rebound shots. So I think that's probably where they totaled all their shots up at.
Bill Pye, who we saw as our intermission feature tonight on Bresnan, making the stops on all Denver shots in that first period as we look at the Denver huddle going into the second period. What goes on these types of things, Dave?
Well, usually the captain just says, guys, let's get going, let's pick it up and let's, really try to win this period. That's usually just what goes on in there.
We look at Bill Pye in the Northern Michigan goal. And we're just about set for second period hockey action. Northern Michigan and Denver. In that first period, Northern Michigan penalized twice for 4 minutes. Denver once for 2 minutes. Northern Michigan 0 for 1 on the power play, and still 0 for December. Denver 0 for 2.
That's another thing we tried to key on at the start of the season was cutting down our penalty minutes. We've led the league the last 2 or 3 years in penalty minutes, and that's one of the main emphasis that we tried to work on throughout the year is cutting down our penalty minutes. I think we've really done really well at that.
Both teams at full strength as the second period gets underway. Ward clears the puck down the ice. That'll go far enough for an icing call, and the faceoff will come back into the Northern Michigan zone. Just underway in the second period. We've played 12 seconds. Northern Michigan with the 2-goal lead, and the next goal of the hockey game, as we've said the last few weeks, will be an important one.
Yeah, it'll be a crucial goal. That'll either, put us up by 3 or cut the lead to 1. If it cuts the lead to 1, I think we're probably going to go to a stricter forecheck. But if if we get the goal, then we might still forecheck the way we've been forechecking throughout the game.
Jay Moore facing Dallas Drake on the faceoff, and Drake waved out of the circle. Ed Ward will come in to take the draw. Ward also having an outstanding year, playing on the line with freshman Dallas Drake and Jeff Galicki. Olson picks up the puck, clears it around the near side boards. Play held in at the Northern Michigan line, cleared back in behind the Wildcat goal. Nice outlet pass to Dallas Drake. Up to Jeff Galicki. Wildcats coming down 3-on-3. Galicki in over the line, centering pass, and I don't know if Ward tipped it, but Gillies had to make the save, and the Pioneers come back the other way with Jay Moore. Pass too far for him. Olson picks it up, clears the zone for Ward. Ward's pass deflected. He regains control, clears back in over the line. Galicki steps into his man, that being Summers. Pioneers, though, control the play, and McBride comes back through center ice and over the Wildcat line. McBride on the backhand. His centering pass is intercepted nicely by Sukharov out front, cleared back out into center ice. Play loose right at the Northern Michigan line. McBride takes a bump from behind. Play goes into the Northern Michigan zone along the far side boards. Eric Lamarck turns with that loose puck, bumped off the play there by McBride. Play still loose along the far side boards. Antos comes into it along with Jim Howe. And finally, the puck banged off the boards back out into center ice. Pioneers will try and dump it right back into the line for Christopoli. Christopoli has it poked away nicely by the Wildcat defenseman down there, that being Sukharov. His clearing pass, though, is stopped at the line, and Pye has to make a stick save. Puck deflected up over the glass and into the crowd.
I was down watching Denver skate this morning, and Darren McBride wasn't skating with the team. I think he has a kind of a sore back, and that's probably why he didn't skate, and it doesn't look like he's really up to par right now.
Well, of course, a Darren McBride that's not at full strength is a plus for the Wildcats. McBride coming in tonight with 11 goals, 27 points on the season, and it was pointed out to us during the first and second periods, Dave, that I believe it's 13 of the top 29 leading scorers in the WCHA are on Lakeview Arena ice tonight.
Yeah, there's a lot of goals on the ice right now.
From the faceoff, play loose in the Northern Michigan zone. Sukharov tries to gain control. Puck ends up right in front of the Northern net. Sukharov now in the near side corner. Turns away from the check there, being bothered down there by Morano. Pinching in along the boards, but failing to hold the puck was the Pioneer player. And the Wildcats now will pick it up and clear it right back into the Denver zone. Ken MacArthur in behind his own goal, avoids the check there from Brown. Puck comes back out through center ice, and John Good takes it inside his own zone. Good's clearing pass sails way past everyone all the way down the ice. In behind his own goal goes Greg Moore. Back to the blue line, Good a shot, and Gillies had to be alert on that. Play loose in behind the Denver goal. Troy Jacobson steps in. Can't control the puck. Eric Morano clears it back out into center ice. Pass intercepted, back in over the line comes Dave Shields. Shields on the backhand, a nice pass into the center. Brown hauled down his man, and the shot never got away. Pioneers from center ice just clear it back into the Northern Michigan zone. This is Bill Pye out of the goal. Held along the far side boards by Butel. In behind the Northern Michigan goal, first person back there will be Dave Shyak. He takes the hit. Plays still loose and coming away with it for Northern Michigan up through center ice was Sukharov, and he got nailed right at the Wildcat bench. Back the other way, Denver in over the line. Robinson in behind the goal. Puck along the near side boards. Back towards the blue line, a shot deflected out front, but cleared before it got to Bill Pye in the Wildcat goal. This will be John Good coming back into his own zone for Northern Michigan. Kevin Scott gets going on the right side along with Eric Lamarck. Will make that Doug Garrow. They can't connect. The puck comes back out into center ice. Momentani clears it down into the Northern Michigan zone. Lou Malone bodies his man. Puck loose in behind the Wildcat goal. A centering pass. I believe Bill Pye got that one on the back of the goal stick to clear it away. Loose puck right out to the side, and a shot and a save by Pye. As getting that shot was Jay Moore. And Pye had to be alert to make the big save.
Yeah, that was a good play from coming from behind the net there. Jay Moore got the pass right up the side of the net, and he walked right out in front there and Billy came up with a big save.
Northern Michigan will make a wholesale lineup change. Daryl Olson, along with Pete Podrasky, the defensive combination for Coach Rick Comley. And the forward line will be that of Dallas Drake, Jeff Galicki, and Ed Ward. 15:56 left in second period hockey action from Lakeview Arena. Tom McCord along with Dave Porter. Wildcats as the Pioneers from the faceoff hit the goalpost. Wildcats currently leading 2-0. That shot off the outside of the goalpost. Dallas Drake back through center ice to Galicki, winding up for a shot. He scores! Galicki gets his second goal of the game at the 4:18 mark, and here it is on the replay, Dave.
It was a nice pass there by Brad Waranka, gives it to Jeff Galicki going up the side there, and Jeff just lets it go from the top of the circle, and it beats Gillies between the legs.
Right in the 5-hole, and Northern Michigan has the 3-goal lead now at 3-0 for Galicki. That is his 13th goal of the season.
You know, like I said, you know, Jeff just having an unreal year. Everything he shoots towards the net seems to end up in the net there.
That really has to do a lot for a player's confidence when you're that hot.
Oh yeah, it does. You know, like I said, Jeff was struggling last year, and coming back this year and just scoring goals at will has just got to, you know, do wonders for him.
Drake and Ward get the assist for Northern Michigan on Galicki's goal. Wildcats now up by 3. A centering pass, Plandowski, a drive, they score! The light is on, let's wait and see. The referee is saying, yes, it is a goal, and we'll have to wait and check out the replay to see who got it. I'm not sure if that shot from Plandowski went in the net or if the rebound went in when the Wildcat player slid in. Here it is.
I think Dean Antos fouled up on the rebound there. I think he put it in.
It's a tough goal to get.
I don't know. Maybe I'm going to take it back. I don't know.
And it's 4-0. Northern Michigan. The Lakeview Arena crowd is getting excited now.
You know, with a lot of the students gone, and, you know, Christmas and the holidays, you know, just around the corner, there's not really that many people here, but this place is exploding right now.
4:40, the time of the Wildcat goal. They're going to give it to Plandowski, and for the sophomore, that's his second goal of the season, and it's been a rough go for him so far this year. Pioneers in behind their own goal, coming up into the center ice zone. This is Dave Shields clearing it down into the Northern Michigan zone. Play loose in the far side circle. Eric Morano circles in behind the goal. Morano centers it out front. Intercepted by Berger. Back out the center ice to Brown. And over the Denver line offside was Jacobson by a stride. And Dave, why don't you recap those last two goals? 4-0 Northern Michigan.
All right, Tom. Well, the third goal was scored by Jeff Galicki, and that was his 13th of the year, assisted by Dallas Drake and Eddie Ward. And just 22 seconds later, Daryl Plandowski scored his second of the year with assists going to Eric Lamarck and Dean Antos.
And it has been a rough start this year for Daryl Plandowski.
Yeah, it has. You know, his first goal it was a very big goal, that overtime win against Minnesota. Daryl's been having a kind of a tough first half. I think you're going to see him turn around after the Christmas break.
The strength of the Wildcat team so far has been balanced. We'll talk about that a little bit later on in the game. And to get some more of these people to start producing a little bit, we'll take some of the pressure off some of all the team, really. Wildcats control back through center ice. Darrow clears it down in. Gillies stops and holds that up. Shayak along the near side boards takes a hit there from the Denver winger coming back, Momatani. Summers, and Momatani steps into Garrow with an elbow, and the face-off will stay in the Denver zone.
You know, I think the reason why we're having such good success this year, Tom, is that we're not, concentrating, or we're not depending on one certain individual. It's a whole team effort. And, like you said, if somebody one night is down, somebody else will rise to the occasion, and that's the way it's been going on through the whole year.
And I guess to put it best, that isn't what's been happening over the last few years here at Northern Michigan.
Right. With the Gary Emmons and the, Steve Bozak.
It's not to knock those types of players because they are exciting players, and but I mean, you have to have the team effort where everybody's working as one.
Right. You have to have that family atmosphere to succeed.
I don't know if we can get the Pittsburgh Pirate theme song up here, the old We Are Family gig.
I don't know. I'm not too much for singing.
Penalty coming up after that last exchange. Jeff Galicki will head to the penalty box. Coming at 5:46, or make that 5:56 here in the second period. Denver will be going on the power play for the third time tonight. Galicki gets a high sticking call. Phil Brown along with Doug Garrow, Daryl Olson, and Pete Pedrasky for Northern Michigan.
This is the third power play for Denver tonight. Let's see if we can make it 3-0, or 0-3 rather.
It's a nice stop for the Christmas season in behind his own goal. Garrow gives his man a little bit of trouble there. Play loose right out to the side of the goal, but the Pioneers come away with Moore through center ice. Moore back in over the line, fakes the shot, snaps one, and Pye has to be sharp on that one, deflects it away. Olson steps in to pick it up in behind the Northern Michigan goal. Centering attempt misses everybody and sails the length of the ice, and Gillies has to come out. He'll steer it back around the far side boards. Christoffoli knocks it away. Up the left side, this is Darren McBride rushing up ice, or make that Mike Markovich in over the line. Drop pass and a quick shot, play loose, and Pye has to dive out on top of that as he momentarily gave up the rebound. Face-off still in the Wildcat zone. 1:11 left in Galicki's high sticking penalty.
Yeah, it looked like Jay Moore didn't get all of it on that shot there.
And there's our second shot of our mystery Wildcat, and that to me is almost a giveaway.
Yeah, it is. He hasn't changed since that picture.
I think maybe he was 6 years old in that picture. No, I'm only kidding.
I don't know about that. Don't let him hear you say that.
But he is on the ice tonight. He did miss part of this season with an injury, and if you haven't gotten it yet, we'll fill you in with our next opportunity. Pye with a shot from the blue line makes the save there. Denver still on the power play. Another shot, that sails wide of the goal, taken by Ken MacArthur. Denver still dangerous in the Northern Michigan zone. Northern Michigan a little bit out of position, but they do clear the puck back out into center ice. Offside as Shields got into the zone early, taking the pass there from McBride. Face-off will come back towards the Denver blue line.
Speaking of our mystery person, Tom, I hear when he was littler, he liked to climb hills a lot.
1 or 2?
I believe it was 2, but I'm not quite sure. Don't quote me on that.
He must have been awful tired after he got through the first one, but then again, he's probably, being a hockey player, he's got to be in peak physical condition.
Unbelievable condition to climb 1 or 2 hills.
Shields, Christoffoli, and Darren McBride up front of the Denver power play. Pass for Shields off to Christoffoli to Shields in the Northern Michigan zone. A drop pass for the trailer, but that's intercepted by Dallas Drake and cleared back down the ice. 20 seconds left in Galicki's high sticking penalty. Wildcats doing a good job so far. Lamarck intercepts right in front of the goal. Dangerous play. Drake had it on the turnaround, but just couldn't reach the puck. Backing over the line is McBride pulling up. Under 10 seconds left in the Northern Michigan penalty. Here's a break for the Cats as Eric Lamarck comes up ice. Coming down with Dallas Drake, 2-on-1. Lamarck winds up for a shot. He scores! A shorthanded goal. Here it is on a replay, Dave.
Yeah, see, Eric was busting down the side there. He tried to feed it off Dallas there, but the defenseman went down, so Eric just cut into the slot and let it rip. And looks like Gillies here is being pulled.
For Lamarck, that is his 10th goal of the season. And Gillies will leave the Denver goal at the 7:55 mark here in the second period.
And there was only 1 second left there in Jeff Galicki's penalty, Tom. That was a nice shot by Eric, and what happened was Darren McBride was feeding it over to the defenseman, and the defenseman was breaking in, and Darren didn't see that, and Eric just took it down the wing and let it rip. That's NMU's 5th shorthanded goal this season, and you know, like I said, we haven't been up to our potential as we have been last year at killing penalties, but we have scored, I think, more shorthanded goals so far.
That's a telling figure in the statistical sheet, as Northern Michigan now has 5 shorthanded goals, as you mentioned, Dave, and have yet to give up one on their own power play. And that's kind of miraculous the way the power play is played.
Well, yeah, you know, we've been struggling on the power play. You know, like Coach said, it's not a matter of the people or the style. You know, it just hasn't been really clicking for us so far this year.
Well, the new goalie for the Denver Pioneers is Lucian Kerrigan, a 5'8", 165-pound sophomore from Fernie, British Columbia. And that Fernie rings a bell. Had some Wildcat players from Fernie, BC. I think we've even got a couple on the ice here tonight. Let's take a quick check here. I believe Phil Sukaroff, yes he is, from Fernie, BC. Wonder if he knows Mr. Kerrigan.
I'm pretty sure he probably does.
Wildcats with a 5-0 lead in the hockey game. 11:35 left in the second period. Malone from the blue line through a maze of players, and Kerrigan was sharp on that one as he kicked that away. Now the Pioneers have a break. Coming back to center ice is Eric Morano. Morano on the backhand. Pulls up in the Northern Michigan zone. His centering attempt is knocked away nicely by Brad Warenka. Out front of the goal, back to the blue line. A quick shot, and Billy Pye somehow found that, and he's got a trap shot from the stick of Rod Summers.
You know, that's a nice setup there by Denver to get Summers in the opening. Billy just came out and cut the angle down, and just, you know, he just gave him nothing to shoot at.
I think right now, Dave, that the Pioneers behind 5-0 in the hockey game, and the way that Bill Pye stoned them out in Denver, have got to be a little bit discouraged.
Yeah, you know, whenever Denver doesn't score, they're a very offensive team. And when they don't score, they get very frustrated. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see them taking more penalties throughout the game now.
Of course, we just saw Gillies' record, 7-3-1. He is the leading winner for the Pioneer duo this year, as we saw Bill Pye kick a shot out. Pioneers back in their own zone. We're right down around the 11-minute mark. Northern Michigan on a roll here in the second period. 5-0 Wildcats with 3 unanswered goals here in the second period. Pye makes the save on the initial shot. The rebound goes wide. Play along the far side boards. Nice effort by Garrow to get it back out into center ice. Garrow knocks down the pass again, but the Pioneers will clear back to the Northern Michigan blue line, and Phil Sukaroff has it there. Cross to John Good. Good's pass is taken by Scott. Up into the center ice zone. Garrow on the backhand. Takes an elbow, but manages to get the puck down into the Denver zone. In behind his own goal, Markovich. Long clearing pass up the right side. This is Momotanian over the line. His shot is kicked away by Bill Pye. Play into the near side corner. Jeff Galicki clears it back in behind his own goal. Around on the far side, Doug Garrow still on the ice. Can't get it out. Centering pass comes out front. Wildcat defense fails to clear the zone. Centering pass right out front of the goal. We score.
I believe that was Engovic.
And the Pioneers are on the board at 5-1. The goal coming at 9:55 here in the second period. We look at it on the replay. Not sure if that was tipped out front of the goal or if it went straight in.
Yeah, I think that was tipped by Engovic there out in front.
The Pioneers get one back. Trail by 4. Dave Porter is 100% correct. Engovic gets the goal. For Engovic, his 6th goal of the season. silencing the crowd just a little bit here at Lakeview Arena. From the face-off, Moore backing over the Northern Michigan line. Olson with the big hit as Moore hit the ice. Galicki takes the spill right at the Denver bench. This is Dallas Drake down deep in Denver territory, being bumped off the play by MacArthur. Galicki comes into it. Pioneers, though, clear the zone. First person there will be Darrell Olson. He just chips it back into the Denver zone, and that's offside. And MacArthur's eyes lit up as he saw Galicki coming.
Yeah, it's a good thing you stepped out of the way there. Just a big freight train coming at you. You better keep your head up.
The first Denver goal?
Yeah, that was by Angovic, assisted to Markovic and Moore, and I believe that was sixth goal of the year for Glenn Angovic.
The key to that situation was the Wildcats' failure that time to clear the offense, to clear the defensive zone.
Yeah, it was, Tom.
From the face-off, Malone in over the line, cross ice, Plandowski, and he snaps a shot that sails about 2 feet wide. Lamarck along the far side boards for Northern Michigan has it taken away. On the move for Denver, back through center ice is Christoffoli to McBride. McBride pulls up along the near side boards, takes a hit there. Streaking after that loose puck is Eric Lamarck. First person back, though, for Denver to clear it is Dan Brooks. Back in over the line for Denver. A quick shot, and Pye has to be alert there with a glove save. Christoffoli had the quick snap shot. Wildcats clear the length of the ice, and the face-off will come back down into the Northern Michigan end. On the goal that Denver just scored, Northern Michigan had 2 opportunities at least to clear the puck into neutral ice, and as a result, when they failed to, got caught out of position on the Denver goal.
Yeah, I think what we're trying to do is I think we were getting a little excited there. You know, we have a 5-0 lead, and you know, guys are, you know, when you get that big of a lead, you know, you want to try to get a point or two here and there, and I think they were just, you know, a little excited.
A little bit tougher to think defense when you're up by 5 goals. You get the offensive flow going. Everybody gets in the mood to pad the goal-scoring statistics as the puck comes right to the side of the Northern Michigan goal. Bill Pye drops on that. Face-off will stay off to his left side.
We got Kevin Scott's line coming out with Doug Garrow and Dave Shayak with 8:48 to play. Cats 5 and Denver 1.
For the Denver Pioneers, Dave Shields will be taking the face-off. Shields out there with Eric Morano on his left and Darren Biggs on his right. From the face-off, puck back to the blue line to Markovic. Pass ends up right in the slot area, knocked away by the Northern Michigan defense. Wildcats try and clear the zone, can't do so initially. Markovic holds. Second effort by Northern Michigan just inside the line, and finally the pass comes out into the high slot area. Doug Garrow comes away with it. Garrow tries to stick handle through 3 people. Kevin Scott almost picked up the loose puck. Puck loose right in front of the goal. He scored! Kevin Scott! And now it's 6-1, and Dave Porter, that's got to be a big goal for Kevin Scott coming back playing with the playing cast on his hand.
Oh yeah, you know, Kevin's been playing really well, and I'm sure he was really disappointed last weekend when he had to sit out because of the surgery, and you know, coming back and scoring that goal with the cast on is just, you know, got to give him confidence that will.
Nice 2-on-none move down deep is falling to the seat of his pants. Kevin Scott put it up high on the top shelf. Northern Michigan back to the 5-goal lead at 6-1. Time of the goal is 11:40 here in the second period. Long shot in from the faceoff. Ed Ward bodies his man. Dallas Drake has the puck back on the blue line. Pedrasky off to Olson. Olson winds up right on. Loose puck. Rebound, they score! Dallas Drake.
And the fans are going wild.
Lucian Kerrigan has to be wondering what he got into. This is earning your goal as a Northern Michigan player in the net. I'm not sure if that was Galicki or Ed Ward in the net.
I didn't notice there. That goal coming only 16 seconds apart from Kevin Scott's goal.
At 11:56 here in the second period. Dallas Drake gets his 10th goal of the year. Northern Michigan running away with this one, threatening to blow Denver right back out west. 7-1 here, a little bit better than midway into the second period. Play tied up along the far side boards, and the faceoff will stay in the Northern Michigan zone. Dave Porter, how about a recap on the Wildcat goals?
Okay, well, the last 2 goals were by Kevin Scott, assisted to Doug Garrow and Daryl Olson at 8:20 of the second period. And just 16 seconds later, it was Dallas Drake with assist going to Daryl Olson and Pete Podrasky at 8:04. You know, Daryl Olson just got two points within 16 seconds, so you got to be pretty happy about that.
Moving up there, of course, Daryl Olson, one of the top 20 all-time Wildcat scorers on the career scoring list. Phil Berger also high on that list for Northern Michigan. Phil had an assist earlier in the hockey game. Wildcats bring it back in offside of the Denver line as Brown brought it in, and Jacobson was still trapped inside the Pioneer zone.
You know, speaking of Dallas Drake, you know, the game's only half over and he already has 3 points. He's just having an unbelievable, you know, first half of the season for a freshman, and I'm sure he's got to be in the top 3 for the running of the freshman of the year in the WCHA, if not the top.
Well, I'll tell you, if he's not at the top, he's right in the vicinity of possibly Phil Sukroff, who's also having an outstanding freshman season.
Phil's also, you know, he's been playing really well on the point for us. He's one of our most solid defensemen so far this year.
You know, you look at freshmen coming into the WCHA, Dave, and you'd think it'd be really tough for a freshman to excel in this league, and maybe you can tell us about some of your experiences. Your first year, Jacobson from the slot area fires it wide. Play loose in the Denver zone, cleared back out into center ice. It is a tough adjustment.
Oh, it is, you know, especially the hitting aspect of the game and the speed. You know, you have to adjust to that from juniors, and it's a really big difference.
Something that Drake and Sukroff and some of the other Wildcat freshmen, including Lou Malone, who's on the ice with the puck right now and behind the goal, have adjusted to well. And I think it speaks well for some of the upperclassmen with the adjustment that these people have made and the success that they're having.
Yeah, you know, they've overcome that, which is really, really good for, you know, not even the halfway point of the season.
In behind his own goal, this is Greg Moore for Denver. Takes a hit back there from Phil Berger. Play loose along the near side boards. Troy Jacobson back on the blue line to Sukroff. Throws it for Berger. Berger fans on the shot. Has it knocked away. Good from the blue line. His shot. And Jacobson just failed to get a stick on that. Back to center ice comes Darren McBride, and over the Northern Michigan line, drop pass Christoffoli going top shelf, and that sails over the top of Bill Pye's glove. Long pass up ice, Eric Lamarck. Hops over his stick. Landowski steps into his man deep in the Denver zone, but Christoffoli has the puck back at the Northern Michigan blue line to McBride. Off to Christoffoli. Along the near side boards for Denver. His pass sails toward the goal crease area. Intercepted there by John Good. Pass for Lamarck a little too far, and the Pioneers clear it right back to the Northern Michigan blue line. Lamarck in the center ice zone for Antos. 5:40 to go. Antos a drive, and that sailed just wide of the goal. Shayak gets the rebound, gets hauled down to the ice behind the goal. No call forthcoming from the referee, Dewey Marcus. And Denver with McBride comes away through center ice to Jim Howe. Long pass cross ice to Darren McBride. McBride stepped into there just enough to impede his forward progress by Antos, and Sukroff comes away. Long pass across for Antos. Antos for Shayak over his stick. Garrow will be the first person there to get it back towards the blue line, but comes now back out into center ice as Morano throws it back to the Northern Michigan line. 5 minutes remaining, second period. A big 6-goal lead for Northern Michigan. It's 7-1 on the scoreboard. And I think maybe a lot of people expected a tighter game than we've got right now, including the man on my left, who's Dave Porter. Kerrigan in behind the goal, takes a little bump there from Shayak. Shayak with the puck in behind, centering pass out front, gets deflected by the Denver defenseman. Pioneers, though, give up the puck. Morano can't control it. Kevin Scott in behind the cage. Bothered by Shayak. Morano again picks it up. Olson steps into his man right at the blue line. Garrow comes back to bump his man off the play, and the play is offside at the Northern Michigan blue line.
Well, with 4:25 left remaining in the second period here, you know, we've got to be really happy with a 6-goal lead at this point, Tom. You know, Denver is, you know, right behind us in third place in the standings, and, you know, we knew that this was going to be a big series coming in this weekend, and so far we've had the upper hand.
You know, you mentioned the crowd or the lack of sometimes, and with the students gone, it's even a little bit less. You know, the Wildcats are having a good season. It's got to be a little discouraging not to see more people at the hockey games.
Well, you know, we've been having really good success, and I don't think it's not that they don't want to come. It's just, you know, the time of the season, you know, with the holidays and exams and all, you know, I don't think that it's because they don't want to come. It has to do with the surroundings that are, you know, happening right now.
Well, I'll tell you, for the fans who haven't been here this year, come on out and enjoy some hockey Wildcat action, as they'll be hosting the Lake Superior State University Lakers on December 30th here at Lakeview, and that should be an interesting hockey game. A long shot from the blue line. Pye with the skate save. Puck loose out front of the Wildcat cage. Pye is down, as is Lou Malone. Play right out to the side, and Pye is finally down on top of the puck. And Galicki comes in to tell Markovich, you shouldn't be swatting at my goalie.
Yeah, you know, there's a, you know, this hockey here, it's a family entertainment, you know. You should come on out, bring the kids. There's, you know, a lot of seats available yet.
And the hockey Wildcats, I think we can pretty much call it a dead issue, have definitely, I think, earned the support of the local community by the way they've played so far this season, especially on the road and as a team.
Oh, yeah, definitely. You know, I think this year throughout the league and, you know, throughout the country, that everybody's learned that, you know, we're a force to be reckoned with, whether we're at home or on the road. You know, I think we've proved that so far with our road record, and, you know, I hope we can just continue to keep that up.
Denver controls the faceoff. A shot from the blue line from MacArthur goes right on goal, and Pye drops on top of that. Down to 3:28 left, second period. 7-1, Wildcats by 6. And coming up in between the second and third periods, we've got an interesting little feature entitled The Nutcracker.
The Nutcracker.
And Dave, you'll have to keep the headset on, and it's an exciting thing is Denver, from the faceoff, scores a goal.
Jay Moore scored that with a pass from Rick Barons right in front of the goal mouth there.
Time of the goal will be 16:28, or 16:38 make that, here in the second period. 7-2 Denver, as we look at it on the replay.
You know, see this giveaway there, and Rick Barons stepped up, and he took it and he passed it over to Jay Moore, who put it in the empty net.
2-on-1 combination on Bill Pye. Pye had no chance on that one. Good play by the winger to strip the Wildcat defense coming off the side of the goal.
That was Jay Moore's 10th goal of the year, by the way, Tom.
Wildcats now up by 5 at 7-2. Play loose at the Northern Michigan blue line. Deep in his own zone. Olsen starts off. His long pass goes a little too far for Plandowski. And this is the other Moore on the ice for Denver. Greg Moore failing to clear the zone. Plandowski right in front of the goal, and just tipping that a little bit wide was Eric Lamarck. Wildcats double team with Lamarck and Antos in behind the goal. Plandowski comes in for a late bump. Lamarck knocks his man flat. Another Wildcat hit with Plandowski, and finally the Pioneers clear the zone back to center ice. Cleared right back into the Denver end. Moore again clears in behind his own goal for MacArthur. Off to McBride. McBride coming through center ice for DU. Pulls up right at the red line. Feeds forward for MacArthur in over the Northern Michigan line. Podrasky there first. Knocks it away momentarily. Picks up the loose puck off the boards. Long pass up to Shayak on the left side. Shayak coming down. Cross ice going for Garrow. Over his stick, Malone from the blue line. His shot goes wide. Wawrinka pinches in, can't hold the puck. Christoffoli comes away 2-on-1 with McBride. Hustling back though, Wawrinka to break that up, as he got back there in a hurry after failing to hold at the Denver line. McBride in behind the Wildcat goal. Avoids a check from Wawrinka. Puck along the near side boards. Back to the blue line, a shot out front of the goal. Weak shot by Summers, redirected, taken away by the Wildcat defense, cleared the length of the ice. This will be an icing call with 1:28 left, second period, 7-2 Northern Michigan.
You know, any team in the WCHA, you know, can come back at any time, and Denver is a prime example. You know, if you recall from last year, you know, we had a 7-3 lead, and within 5 to 10 minutes, it was tied 7-7. So, you know, even though it is 7-2 and we have a 5-goal lead, you know, you can never give up.
That was a game to be remembered, as it looked like the Wildcats were going to blow Denver right off Lakeview ice in the third period. It was also the game that Phil Berger set a Northern Michigan record of 3 goals in a minute and 21 seconds. Wildcats coming down 2-on-1 to Galicki, and Galicki had a roll off the end of his stick, looking for the hat trick here in the second period. Centering pass out front. Ward just failed to get a stick on that. Down to 1:10 left second period. It seems like every time this line is on the ice, they have opportunities in the Denver zone. Sukharov pinching in, throws it in behind the Denver goal. Under a minute to play, second period. Morano crossed behind Shields. Shields didn't see him, threw it up to an open wing. Wildcats cleared back out in the center ice. Shields turns back in over the Northern Michigan line. Centering pass down low, and that bounces right up to Bill Pye, who just catches it basket style. And the face-off will stay off to his right side in the Northern Michigan zone. 44 seconds left, second period.
Yeah, that was kind of a tricky little deflection there. It kind of deflected off of Dave Shields' stick there, and just kind of went in the air, end over end, and Billy, gloved that with the opposing player coming in right at him.
I think Bill Pye trying to develop some tunnel vision after those couple of strange ones that went in on him a couple of weeks back.
Oh, that was against Colorado College, and I've never seen goals like, I've seen goals like that, maybe once a year, but never 2 times in one game. That's for sure.
The Wildcats reached their quota in one evening in about 25 minutes of action that night at Lakeview Arena. Strange night. Wildcats control the faceoff. Puck along the near side boards, out into center ice. Phil Berger steps in to pick it up at his own blue line. Now back at his own blue line, Ken MacArthur turns across ice to Shields. 25 seconds left in the second period. Up to the Wildcat blue line, and over the line comes Momatani. That's broken up and brought back by Berger. Berger on the backhand, in over the DU line, pulls up, bumped off the play nicely. Shields comes in to take it away, down to 10 seconds left, second period. Denver back up to the Northern Michigan line. A centering pass is intercepted by Phil Brown. Look out, Wildcats with 4 seconds. The pass intercepted, though, and that'll wrap up the second period of hockey action. And we've played 2 periods here at Lakeview Arena. After 40 minutes of play, it's Northern Michigan 7 and Denver 2. Stay tuned for the Nutcracker right after this.
Listen to the heartbeat. Ooh, yeah. Of America. Listen to the heartbeat.
Hope you enjoyed the second period intermission feature, the Nutcracker, put together by the Channel 8 production crew. And coming up on Channel 8, we've got lots of college hockey action for you. Northern Michigan at Minnesota Duluth. We'll have the second game of that Duluth series, weather permitting and transportation permitting, on December 24th at 7 p.m., then again on December 27th at 7 p.m. Then Northern Michigan back on home ice will be taking on Lake Superior State College. That game being rebroadcast on December 31st at 1 p.m. and January 3rd at 7 p.m. Then Northern Michigan renews its rivalry with the Michigan Tech Huskies. That coming up on January 8th at 3 p.m. and once again on January 10th at 7 p.m. And some women's college basketball coming your way also here on Channel 8 as Mike Geary's Wildcat women off to the good start this year will be taking on Grand Valley State College. That on January 16th at 7 p.m. and January 18th at 7 p.m. We're in between periods 2 and 3. Northern Michigan with the 7-2 lead over the Denver University Pioneers. We'll be back with third period hockey action coming up next here on Channel 8.
Now that we have your attention, let us have your appetite. Vango's Pizza and Lounge, North 3rd Street, Marquette.
Welcome back to Marquette's Lakeview Arena. We're getting ready for the start of third period hockey action here on Channel 8. Tom McCord along with injured Wildcat hockey player Dave Porter, and the Wildcats, Dave, have a big 7-2 lead after 2 periods.
Yeah, you know, that was a big period for us, Tom. We came out and, you know, we took control of the period right away, and with just, you know, 2 mental, you know, letdowns, you know, we had a pretty, very, very solid period of hockey.
Northern Michigan had a 2-0 lead after 1 period. Jeff Galicki made it 3-0 at the 4:18 mark. For Galicki, his second goal of the game, assist going to Drake and Ward. Here it is on the replay.
You know, here's Jeff. He comes down the side. You know, he just lets a shot go and then, you know, finds its way between the legs of Gillies and ends up behind him in the net.
After Galicki's second goal, Daryl Flandowski then got his second goal of the season. And I tell you, somebody really paid for this at the side of the goal, and maybe it was Dean Antos, as we pointed out. Flandowski is second at 440 from Lamarck and Antos, and here that is Flandowski just winds up in the last one at Gillies.
Yeah, I know Dino ends up in the net here. Here he comes flying in there. He collides the side of the post, and it was a good shot to keep it low there by Daryl.
It was 5-0 then as the Wildcats, playing shorthanded, scored their 5th shorthanded goal of the season as Eric Lamarck got it. And I guess now they have awarded an assist on the play to Dallas Drake, and that coming at 7:55. Let's take a look at that on the replay.
Yeah, here you see McBride try to pass back to the point man, and it got away from him. And Eric was going to slide over there to Dallas right there, but the defensive player was coming back and slid, so Eric just cut to the center of the slot and just let it go.
Well, it looks like from the replay, the mystery assist going to Dallas Drake, making it 5-0. Denver got on the board then as Engovic scored, an assist going to MacArthur and Moore. That coming at 9:55.
Yeah, here there's a little giveaway right there. Moore gives it over to MacArthur, and he just, you know, shovels it towards the net, and it's tipped in behind Billy Pye by Engovic.
Didn't look like they got all of the shot, but the redirection sometimes can be the factor.
Right, that's what happened on that occasion.
Eric Lamarck, or make that Kevin Scott, came right back to make it 6-1 Northern Michigan. And watch this play by Scott falling down, working 2-on-1 down low with Doug Garrow.
It's a good play here by Dougie to see Kevin over on the side of the net open behind him there. Kevin just puts it up in the upper shelf there.
Dallas Drake then made it 7-1 at the 11:56 mark. Assist going to Olson and Podrasky. And the Wildcat freshman, with his 10th goal of the season, continues to roll here in the WCHA.
You know, Tommy, Dallas just had an unbelievable season. Here, Daryl takes a shot there at the net there, and the rebound comes over to the side of Dallas, and I wasn't quite sure it was in the net there. It looked like Eddie Ward, but I wasn't quite sure.
Good poise by Drake as he waited to tee up that shot, and he knew exactly where he was going to go. Moore then came back to make it a 7-2 hockey game at the 16:38 mark, assist scoring to Behrens and Engevic. The play stripped from the Wildcat defenseman.
Yeah.
We'll look at it on the replay.
Here comes Johnny coming behind the net with it, and you know he gets tied up and he just loses it, and Behrens jumps right on there and he passes over to Moore and he buries it in the empty net.
Good finishing play by Moore. We're underway here in the third period. Wildcats by 5 at 7-2. Tom McCord along with Dave Porter at Lakeview Arena. Denver just clearing back out into center ice. Behrens, the first person there, drops it off. Brooks shovels it down deeper into the Wildcat zone. Darrell Olson starts off. Pass coming up into the center ice zone for Dallas Drake. Drake has it poked away. Galicki carries on, though, and fires it down into the Denver zone. Pioneers around in behind their own goal. With the puck is Mike Markovich. Drops it off, a long pass up into the center ice area. Return to Markovich. Markovich in over the northern line, bumped by Plandowski. McBride tries to get fancy with the rebound, and it's taken away by Northern Michigan. Plandowski back up. Cross ice attempt, right in on goal. Rebound, oh, and a save by Kerrigan. An excellent save that time on the trailer, Dean Antos. Denver back in dangerous. McBride and a good defensive play by John Good. Plandowski steps in to pick it up, back through center ice for Northern Michigan. We've had a couple of good plays here early in the third period. Kerrigan for Denver, John Good just a moment ago for Northern Michigan. Pioneers break up the Northern Michigan attempt, and Darren McBride brings it back through center ice. Pass for Christoffoli. McBride, the trailer again, picks it up on the backhand. He shoots it way wide of the Northern Michigan goal. Play into the far side corner, a centering attempt by the Pioneers, and that coming from the stick of Dave Shields, and Bill Pye intercepts that and covers it up. Face off with 18:18 to play, regulation time in the Wildcat zone.
You know, like I said earlier, Tom, you know, Denver is a team, just like any other team in the WCHA, that will never give up. You know, no matter what the score is, you know, they'll always come at you, and, you know, this first 2 minutes here is a good example. You know, they've been forechecking, you know, at will, and they'll just never give up no matter what the score is during the game.
Once again, the first goal of the hockey period here in the third. No matter if it's for the Wildcats, I would think it would be more of a deterrent to Denver than if Denver scores first.
Well, you know, any goal that's scored, whether it be a 10-2 game or a 3-2 game, is very important. You know, it could come back and haunt you, or it could come back and help you later in the season.
Brown with the big hit deep in the Northern Michigan zone. Troy Jacobson comes away with the puck, takes a hit there from Robinson. Berger up into center ice, trying to clear it down into the DU zone. Finally, Phil Brown does. Giving chase along the far side boards for the Pioneers. Knocking it back down the ice is Jim Howe. Lou Malone starts off. His pass goes the length of the ice. This will be an icing call. Nope, it's waved off now. Pioneers with McBride, dump it back down into the Northern Michigan zone. Pye has a tricky bounce there.
Had kind of a flashback of CC there.
Pioneers clear around in behind the Northern Michigan goal. Garrow takes a hit but gets it back out into center ice for Kevin Scott. Scott has a goal in his first game back after missing a pair. Wildcats with Shayak in the slot. Down they go, just wide of the goal. Good effort that time.
Denver's getting a penalty here, Tom.
Penalty coming up as Garrow just missed finishing off that play as Shayak had the opportunity. Wildcats have pulled their goaltender. They have the extra attacker on the ice. Get it back out into center ice. Pedrasky at the red line. Off to Doug Garrow and over the DU line. Winds up for a shot. Loose in the crease and cleared away by the Denver defense. An alert play there by Rod Summers to clear that puck away, and the Northern Michigan Wildcats, Dave, will be going back on the power play for the second time tonight.
That was a good shot there by Doug Garrow, almost stuck between the pads of Lucien Kerrigan there.
We'll make that 3:28, the time of the Denver penalty. Dan Brooks goes for charging. And Dave, while the Wildcats are getting ready to go on the power play here, let's talk a little bit about yourself. You're currently out of the lineup. You've been out since the second game of the Denver series out west. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got injured and what's been happening since?
Well, I went to go make a check on defenseman Mark Rousseau, and just as I hit him, just as I was getting ready to hit him, he cut towards the center, and my leg got stuck between his two legs, and as we collided, I spun, and my knee kind of stayed between his two legs, and I just tore the ligament right off of my knee bone there.
Berger back into the Denver zone, tied up in behind the Pioneer goal. Phil comes away with the puck, gets it back to Olson on the blue line, across to Pete Podrasky. Back across for Gerald Olson, winding up, and that shot goes just wide. Drake with the rebound, knocked away by the defenseman out front, that being Mark Russo, and the Pioneers will bring it back through center ice. A long shot sails way wide of the Northern Michigan goal. Dallas Drake will pick it up. What's the status on the rehab, Dave?
Well, they said this will take 6 to 8 weeks before I'll be back again, and tomorrow night will be 4 weeks. So, you know, I recovered pretty well, and they're expecting me either back next weekend or the weekend after.
And what about some of the things you've been doing to try and strengthen that leg again?
Well, I've been in the whirlpool, you know, to loosen the muscle up inside there, and I've also been doing stim treatment. You know, it kind of sends waves into the bone and kind of into the knee itself. And what that does is that it gets rid of the swelling that's in the inside. And our trainer, Jim Pekalski, is doing just an unreal job with me.
Down to 35 seconds left as Northern Michigan is on the power play. Dan Brooks sits in the penalty box. Galicki clears it down into the DU zone. Kerrigan out of the goal to hold it up there. Good shot of Lucian as he clears it around the near side boards, and the Pioneers ice the puck. Under 20 seconds remaining in the Northern Michigan power play. This is Sukharov in behind his own goal. Sukharov, a nice move to get away from Shields at his own blue line, up through center ice. In over the DU line, going around the outside, a centering pass, and Galicki just missed that, still looking for his hat trick here, now early in the third period. Eric Lamarck at the center red line. Brooks is back on the ice. Northern Michigan back on even terms as Denver gets its man back. 5-on-5 hockey in front of the goaltenders. Galicki in behind the Denver goal, being pinned there by two Pioneers, still struggles to get free. Play to Lamarck in behind the goal. He's bodied there by Mark Russo. Lamarck still controlling the puck. Tries to get it to Garrow. Wawrinka breaks that up and holds in the DU zone. In behind the goal, Galicki. Penalty coming up on Jeff as he got the stick up around the helmet area. Looked more or less accidentally, Dave, but he's going to end up in the penalty box.
Yeah, Rod Summers is down behind the net there, and I think Jeff Galicki's going to be going off.
Looking at the injured Denver Pioneer player in behind the red line. And that's old friend Pat Berry out there, the DU trainer. Pat used to be the trainer for the Lake Superior State University hockey team. And met him back in my Sault Ste. Marie days as we look at Jeff Galicki, who's going to be heading into the penalty box, a little bit concerned about the condition of the Denver player. Once again, Dave, I do think that was more or less of an accidental type of thing. He was going for the puck in behind the goal and you know, trying to clear the puck. The stick came up and the player just happened to be there.
Yeah, it looked like he just caught him and, you know, like you said, the follow through, and looks like he's okay there. He's getting up now. As you can see, he's holding his, or feeling his neck there to see if, you know, he was cut or not, but I don't think he has been.
Of course, if he was, that raises the possibility of a major penalty, and John Good over in the semicircle over by the penalty box to check with Dewey Marcus and see what's going on. High sticking is going to be the call at the 6-minute mark, and 2 minutes goes up on the board for Jeff Galicki, and Denver will be on the power play. Be the fourth power play attempt for the Pioneers tonight. So far, they're 0 for 3. Garrow, Brown, Olson, and Podrasky for Northern Michigan to try and kill off this power play by the Pioneers. Each team with one power play opportunity here so far in the third period. Shields carries through center ice, clears it to the Northern Michigan line. Garrow picks that up, just misses the scoreboard on the backhand, all the way back down to the side of the DU goal. Circling there is Russo, 6-foot junior from North Vancouver, BC. Bad pass in over the Northern Michigan line. Podrasky picks that up, leads for Garrow, just a little bit too far. Kerrigan has to come out of the goal. Clearing pass for Shields in center ice. He turns back at his own blue line. Up for Christoffoli. In over the Northern Michigan line. MacArthur back at the left point. Cross ice. Down low, right on, and Pye has to dive out and cover up on that. Face-off will remain in the Northern Michigan zone. 1:09 left in Galicki's high sticking penalty.
You know, Denver kind of reminds me of Minnesota. You know, the way they crisscross and they come back in their zone and they swing. You know, they try to get a lot of speed coming up the ice, and what they do is you rarely ever see them dump it in. Just like Minnesota, they always have control and they always carry it in wide. You know, that's what I recognize with Denver as the way they remind me of Minnesota.
More Barons along with Engevic, the forwards up front. Play will be offside if Engevic takes it back in, so he dumps it back to his own blue line. Return pass coming into the Northern Michigan zone. Pete Pedrasky, the first person there, rifles it off the boards, and the play was hit with a high stick by the Northern Michigan player, and the face-off will be brought down into the face-off circle off the Bill Pye's right side.
Well, the score is 7-2. The Cats leading with 12:51 remaining in the third period. There's 51 seconds left in Jeff Galicki's penalty. And the face-off is in the right-hand side of Billy Pye.
12 minutes and 51 seconds away from first place in the WCHA. That sounds darn good, Dave.
First place in a long time.
Summers back on the blue line from the face-off, cross ice. Summers winds it up from the blue line, deflected right out front of the goal. Pye made the save. Engevic went for the tip. Pye had to be alert on that. This is Barons. To Moore. Moore takes the look. Half a minute left in the DU power play. Back to Summers. Another shot right on, deflected, and Pye took it up around the mask as Engevic got the stick on it again. Good save for Billy Pye.
Yeah, that was a good save by Billy. You know, it looked like he was partially screened there, and just as Summers let that go, Engevic was pushed to the ice, and as he was falling, it deflected off of his body, and Billy was awake for the tip there.
Now, we've tried to make the point, Dave, over and over this season for all the minor hockey players that are out in the Marquette area and around and listen to and watch the Bresnan games, that any time that you have the scoring opportunities, if you get the shot directed at the goal, a lot of positive things can happen.
Oh, that's right. You know, you don't score goals by passing. You know, you score goals by shooting, and you know anything can go in. We witnessed that against CC.
Billy Pye just made a big save a moment ago, and the Wildcats break up the attempted shot from the blue line and carry with Dallas Drake. Drake for Lamarkin. Behind him, puck still loose in the Denver zone. Galicki is now back on the ice. The Wildcats are at full strength. Sukharov runs his man along the far side boards, picks up the puck in behind the NMU goal. Play still loose deep in Wildcat territory. Sukharov tries to clear it around, can't do so. Barons has it in behind the northern net. Gets it off for Momotani. Sukharov again has the puck taken away from him. From the side, centering pass out front. That's deflected away by Bill Pye. Sukharov steps in to clear back up into center ice. Galicki and Drake coming down for make that Galicki for Drake, and we've got a penalty coming up.
I believe that's Mark Rousseau.
And Northern Michigan will try their luck once again on the power play.
This will be the third power play attempt for Northern tonight. With 11:22, I believe Mark Rousseau will get 2 minutes for tripping there. Either tripping or hooking. Let's find out. Oh, interference. Jeez, I guess I struck out.
Combination of the two, a trip or a hook. If in doubt, we'll call it interference. 8:38, the time of the penalty on Rousseau. Face-off off to the left side of Kerrigan. Pioneers win the draw, clear it down the ice. Wildcats trying to break their 0 for December skid on the power play. You know, it's amazing they haven't had the success on the power play, but they've been winning hockey games, and some by large margins.
I got a feeling about this power play here, Tom.
Play loose in the DU zone. Plandowski gets it back to the blue line. Pedrasky across to number 66, Daryl Olson. Back to Pedrasky. Olson winds up for a shot, deflected out front of the goal over the top by Antos. Plandowski along the near side boards keeps the play in. Kerrigan out of his goal. Berger runs into the referee, Dewey Marcus, along the far side, and the Pioneers come away through center ice. Pass for Howe behind him. Pye holds for Pedrasky. 10:30 to play in the hockey game. 1:05 left in the NMU power play. Olson pulls up inside the Denver line. Dumps it for Berger into the near far side corner. Drake down there also. Berger tries to poke it away in behind the goal, finally does. Back to the blue line, John Good. Across to Olson, he fakes the shot, dumps it low for Berger over his stick. Berger along the far side boards on the backhand. Pulls up now, takes a look, centering pass out front. That's intercepted by the Pioneers' MacArthur and brought back to center ice. Back in over the Northern Michigan line, being bodied into the corner is Eric Morano by Darrell Olson. Olson just clears back to the red line. We've got 25 seconds left in the NMU power play, and Dave Porter's feelings are going down the drain here.
Well, don't cut me up here on the air, Tom.
Around the near side boards, I wish they'd score as much as you do, Guy. Plandowski across ice. 7 seconds left in the power play. A break for Northern Michigan, and over the line, a drive right on, and Kerrigan has a drop off his pads, lay in the crease, but it's cleared away, and the Pioneers are back at full strength. Malone down low to Lamarck. Lamarck wheels away in the corner to Malone. Malone way in deep in behind the goal, gets knocked down. Centering pass where Warenka shot. And oh, Kerrigan got a piece of that and deflected that away. Warenka fakes the shot again as he intercepts inside the DU zone. Shields now takes it away.
Was off to the side, just waiting for it to come to him. He would have had the open net, so it was a good play by Billy and Brad.
8:37 to play in regulation time. 7-2 Northern Michigan. Scott, Garrow, and Shayak now for the hockey Wildcats. Denver controlling in their own zone. This is MacArthur through center ice. MacArthur, nice move around John Good. Has to pull up and clear in behind the Northern Michigan goal. Right out to the side, trying the stuff play with Shields. Kevin Scott down to cover up, and Bill Pye grabs the loose puck.
You know, it's kind of hard what Shields just did there. Well, you know, he came around on his backhand. It's a lot harder to stuff it when you're coming around your backhand than it is your forehand, because, you know, the curve of the stick, it's easier to hook the puck around the net as it is to on your backhand.
Well, Dave, I thought maybe you might get your first shot at play-by-play, but I lost the 50-50 again.
Well, let me say I'm not disappointed.
From the face-off, play loose into the center ice zone.
But I feel for you, Tom.
Cleared back into the Northern Michigan zone. If you'll feel for me, you'll give me the $2 or I'll get up and leave anyway. Pioneers with McBride will pick up the loose puck, or try to anyway. Shayak steps into his man across the way, knocks him to the ice. Now he's going to try and pin him there. Pioneers, though, come away with the loose puck. Sukharov takes that away, and Garrow brings it back to center ice for Northern Michigan. Garrow being held and taken down to the ice.
And there's a penalty going to be called. I think it's going to be Robinson there.
He whistled down now, and I think we can both guess that this will be a holding call on Denver.
I'm not going to guess right now. I'm going to wait.
Wildcats will be going back on the power play for the 4th time tonight. And Dave, you had your good feeling last time. This time it's my turn.
Okay, let's see what you can bring up. And it is holding.
12:50 or 12:22 the time of the Denver penalty. Their second here in the 3rd period. And the Wildcats have Antos, Dallas Drake, and Phil Berger out on the front line. Podrasky and Olson back on the blue line. Pioneers, though, have the puck, and they bring it back to center ice. Rick Barons in over the line and offside on the right. Failing to hold up in over the line was Markovich. And here's our mystery man on the bench. He looks about the same as that last picture.
Yeah, it does. Well, yeah, I guess he did come from Two Hills, didn't he?
Yeah, he sure did, and that's number 5, Brad Warenka, the fine-looking Wildcat rear guard from Two Hills. And, you know, we laugh about the name Two Hills. We've seen some strange ones this year, but I guess it's really a beautiful country.
Yeah, I've heard of one in BC called 100 Mile House. That's the name of a city.
Of course, that was on a team last week from Duluth, I believe, and Berger just missed the net that time for Northern Michigan. Antos drops it down in low, in behind the goal. Puck comes back to the blue line to Podrasky. To Olson. Olson, a drive, he scores!
Oh.
And we're out of the O's. Power play goal for Northern Michigan. Wonder if Rick will take me on the road trips now.
Good luck charm.
There it is on the replay as Olsen found the top corner, and it's 8-2 Northern Michigan.
The hex is over.
13:02, the time of the goal.
And that's another Armour Star goal.
I don't think that goes in here anywhere. Denver back through center ice. Long shot, and Pye deflects that. You've been listening to too much Red Wing hockey. Morano from the side of drive, and Pye took that off the shoulder. Phil Brown grabs the loose puck and comes back through center ice for Northern Michigan. Jacobson drop pass in behind Brown, and that play is now offside at the Denver line with 6.5 to go. Wildcats by 6 at 8-2, and the crowd a standing ovation on the Wildcat power play.
And they're going nuts at Lakeview Arena.
Ed Ward out again with Jeff Galicki and Dallas Drake. Warenka clears a long shot, and he's paired up with Lou Malone back on the Wildcat blue line. Play loose, Drake, and a save by Kerrigan as he kicked out the right pad. Oh, and Galicki runs over his man in front of the goal. Big time hit there by number 27. Warenka takes the body from Morano, and Ed Ward turns for Northern Michigan. Back to Drake through center ice. Drake pulls up a long cross ice pass, right it on goal. Oh, I think that hit the goal post again. I'm not sure, but it looked like it got behind Kerrigan. Galicki down to Drake. Drake out front for Ward, and that's on the side of the goal. Puck loose right there, and Ward, oh, on the backhand. Oh. Can't find it.
Only coming up to Denver here.
Oh, and I'll tell you,
interference. Oh.
Kerrigan had no idea where that puck was.
Let me tell you, that's the most frustrating thing right there. When the goalie is out of the net, there's an open net, and the puck's just laying there waiting to get pushed in, and an opposing guy is just tying up, and there's nothing you can do about that. That is so frustrating.
I wonder if we can get a shot of that on the replay. I don't know if we can or not. But that puck just lay there, and Ed Ward, I think, had his back turned to the plate, too, tied up by the defenseman. And just unable to get a stick on the puck, and here it comes on the screen. Kerrigan thinks he's got it, and there it is.
Look at that right there.
He sees it.
Oh, there's nothing you can do about it.
Wildcats on the power play for the third time here in the final period. So far, the Cats are now 1 out of 5, or 1 for 4, rather, as they scored. Oh, 1 for 3. They scored on their third power play attempt. We'll get it right. Is that the third?
Fourth. It was the fourth. This will be the fifth here.
Okay.
I got you.
From the faceoff, Wildcats control in the Denver zone. Plandowski across. This is Podrasky back to Plandowski near side boards. Plandowski from the side down low. Across, the score! Oh, we're on a roll now.
Did you have a feeling?
Wasn't going to say anything after the first one. The Wildcats are now up by a touchdown at 9-2. Here it is on the replay.
Goes down here to Dean Antos off the side of the net there. And he just feeds it over to Phil Berger. And Phil puts it in the empty net.
For Phil Berger, that is his 11th goal of the season. And Northern is running away from Denver at Lakeview tonight. 9-2 on the scoreboard. From the faceoff, puck loose in the center ice zone. Christoffoli has it poked away by Podrasky just inside the Wildcat blue line. McBride turns in the center ice zone. .14:33 the time of the goal, and there is, I don't know what to call her now. We know Wildcat Willie. Is this Wildcat Wilhelmina up here?
The Cat Tess.
The Cat Tess, okay.
The Wildcat Tess.
I didn't think that was Willie in a skirt tonight.
If it did, I'm not going to be hanging around Willie anymore.
Why don't you run down that last power play goal, the last 2 goals for Northern on the power play?
The last 2 power play goals, the first one was scored by Daryl Olson with assists going to Pete Podrasky and Dallas Drake. And the second power play goal that just occurred was scored by Phil Berger with assists going to Dean Antos and Daryl Plandowski.
Play loose in the Northern Michigan zone in behind the goal. A lot of bodies crunching along the end boards. Pioneers hold at the blue line. McBride's shot is broken up off the stick of Jacobson. Still controlling, though, Morano finally has it poked off his stick out into center ice. Here comes Phil Berger and Jacobson coming down 2-on-1. Berger has it poked off his stick. Brown, though, centering pass, and that never made it through as Morano picked it off and clears the zone. Christoffoli tries to hop around the outside of John Good. Bill Pye way out of the goal to clear it back to the red line. Delayed offside against Denver. Sukharov goes back. The Pioneers touch up. Sukharov dumps it up to Brown in the center ice zone. A little too far for Phil. Pioneers clear it right back into the Northern Michigan zone. Long cross ice pass for number 9, Phil Brown. Brown had a goal back in the first period. His pass as Berger went to the ice was behind Phil. Denver back into the Northern Michigan zone. Trailer on the play. Quick shot that goes high off the glass, off the stick of Dan Brooks. Loose puck right to the side of the goal, and Bill Pye had to be alert there.
Looks like Berger was trying to get another one there.
Malone clears it back out through center ice. Wildcats change up on the fly. Whoa, Warenka ran into his man, lost his glove in the center ice zone. Man who was on the receiving hit that time was Darren Biggs.
That was a big hit. No pun intended, Tom.
Warenka picks up his glove. He's back in the play at the DU line, down to 3:15 left in the hockey game. Wildcats by 7 at 9-2, looking at first place in the WCHA.
How does it feel?
Feels good from right here. It probably feels better on your end and down on the Wildcat bench.
Oh, I'm sure they're very ecstatic down there, and I'm very happy too. I just wish, I could be a part of it down there.
A little bit frustrating for you now that the things are going good to be out of action?
Well, yeah, it is for me, personally, but I couldn't, I couldn't be happier, with the team. I'm part of a team. It's a whole team, and it's whenever the team does well, everybody's happy. So, I'm just really glad to be part of this team.
From the face-off, trying to hop in around the outside was Eric Lamarck. Play loose down in behind the DU goal. Lamarck comes away with the puck on the backhand, takes a look along the near side boards in behind the goal. Antos there being bothered in behind the net by Jim Howe. Lamarck takes a hit in the far side corner from MacArthur. Antos still battling. Plandowski gets it back to the blue line. Olson tees it up, and that gets deflected. He knocks it down in behind the Denver goal now. Garrow on the backhand. That gets knocked away by the Denver defenseman. Wildcats still control deep in DU territory. Pass goes off the side of the goal. Play loose into the near side corner. Pioneers will finally dump it back out into center ice. Down to 2:10 left in the hockey game. Play way offside at the Northern Michigan blue line. Having to turn back that time was Biggs. Right in front of the Northern Michigan bench, and Garrow takes a little hit there at the end from Butel, and the face-off will stay right in front of the Northern Michigan bench.
Well, this victory here is just going to do so much for our team. We're not only going to be in first place, but Denver, who was in third place right behind us, that's just 2 points farther that we get ahead of them. So actually, in all reality, it could be, it's more or less a 4-point lead now.
Scott, Garrow, and Shayak for Northern Michigan. Wildcats win the face-off. Sukharov on the move up through center ice, throws it down in behind the Pioneer goal. Garrow, first person there for Northern Michigan, takes a hit from Markovich. Centering pass comes out into the slot area, taken away by Denver's Christoffoli, and he backhands it down into the Northern Michigan zone. Sukharov in the far side corner can't control it. McBride in behind the Wildcat goal to Shields, off to Christoffoli. Centering attempt goes off the Wildcat forward. Scott, another centering attempt, gets broken up by John Good. Another centering attempt comes all the way back through center ice into the Denver zone. 1:20 left in the hockey game. 9-2 Northern Michigan. The Wildcats about to vault past first place Minnesota into that top spot in the WCHA. And they'll have a chance in tomorrow night's rematch to go 3 points up on the Gophers if they could complete a sweep this weekend against Denver University. Under a minute to go in a hockey game. Berger on the backhand has his centering attempt go right into the crease area, and Kerrigan snaps that up, and the faceoff will stay in the Denver zone.
You know, Tom, not only will this victory boost us into first place and farther ahead of Denver, this win tonight also gives us an advantage in the series with Denver, 3-0, which is very important.
Of course, as the season goes on, Northern Michigan will not only be looking down at the rest of the league from this weekend, but they're still looking for their first home ice advantage ever in the WCHA playoffs.
Yeah, you know, if we continue to play, the way we've been playing, that should happen very easily.
Puck loose in the high slot area. Ward has it roll off the end of his stick, takes a hit along the near side boards. Dallas Drake, a centering pass. Oh, and Galicki almost had his third goal, still looking for number 3 here late in the hockey game. Galicki back in his own zone, up the boards for Dallas Drake. Half a minute to go. Northern Michigan's going to take a big win tonight over Denver as Drake gets nailed up around the face mask and goes down. Drake down again in front of the goal. Little slashing and high sticking going down in behind the goal with Galicki and with Rod Summers. Little jousting continuing. Ed Ward comes down to add some season's greetings.
Happy holidays.
Maybe we can start on a second version of Nutcracker 2, the movie. Of course, Summers not about to back down from Galicki. Summers 6'4", 215 from White Rock.
He's quite a large unit there.
Large unit, and Galicki no small package himself at about 6'2", 195. And we'll have penalties at the end of this hockey game. Both players will head to their respective locker rooms. Summers to the DU locker room, Galicki to the Northern Michigan locker room. 2 minutes appear for each player on the board. And we have, it's very inconsequential at this point, 17 seconds left in the hockey game. 19:43, the time of the coincidental minor penalties. We'll finish up the hockey game at 4-on-4. Roughing calls to Galicki and Summers. Howe will take the face-off with Dallas Drake. 10 seconds to go in a hockey game. Wildcats with Drake pressuring deep in the DU zone. Loose puck, and Ward shoves it right through the crease area. Under 5 seconds to go. This one's history. The Wildcats are in first place in the WCHA standings, beating the Denver University Pioneers by a final score of 9-2. We'll be back to recap tonight's hockey action with third period highlights in just a moment.